You ever be sitting around and just out of nowhere think, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna watch this. Today, that was me. You know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna watch Ghostbusters. Why not? Then as I was watching, it occurred to me that it's been a while since I actually did a review for this movie. I did this for Halloween Horror Month, the very first Halloween Horror Month, 6 years ago. Yeah, that's. I did the 3 that were out at the time. This one, 2, and Ghostbusters 2016. I did those. I'm gonna do this one, and I'm gonna do the second one because those are the ones that fit in with Birth Month. This is a part of Birth Month, in case you didn't know. I decided because I've changed. The last 2 were solidified. I'm doing the last 2 as the last 2, but I've changed the ones in between that so many times. I was gonna do 3 Men and a Baby, which I can do at some other point, and Sister Act, but I changed that to Baby's Day Out, and then now I'm doing Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. We got Ghostbusters back there. If you can see it there, remember my arm away. I changed the owl with Slimer. I put the Ghostbusters soundtrack, which I quite enjoy, back there. And then you have the Ghostbusters 1-2 collection and the Steelbook for the first Ghostbusters. I actually have all 4 of the Ghostbusters down there. Vigo was already in the background. So, yeah. Let me keep Slimer back there, actually, instead of the owl. I think he fits better. But, yeah. So, man, I have to put the owl back in there until birth. No, because most of Birth Month, I don't know. We'll just leave it. It'll be a continuity error if I do more before Birth Month. So, Ghostbusters, coming out in 1984, spawned a franchise that for some reason everybody seems to just shit all over. Like, everyone praises the first movie and just craps all over the other ones. They say the second one's a disappointing sequel. They say the remake is shit. The new one, people praised it, but then there's people out there like, no, it's crap. It's kid crap. It's family crap. That's not Ghostbusters. And then a new one came out, and they're like, no, it's more family crap. Ghostbusters is not a family thing. No, the first Ghostbusters is not a family thing. I think I said this in one of the other reviews, but people get pissed off for no reason. I think either in one of the new ones that I did, people get pissed off for no reason at this, thinking Ghostbusters can only be like the original film. It's been kid-friendly since 1986, when the cartoon came out. Yeah, the real Ghostbusters cartoon, when that came out, that's when it became kid-friendly. People were like, well then, maybe the cartoon wasn't a good idea, but the cartoon is great. And then people were like, well, that's where the problem started. Yeah, because then they made the sequel, and they tried to make it like the cartoon. And I still think of, what if they had Al Ramis dye his hair to look more like the cartoon, because it got rid of Winston's mustache for that. We'll talk about that when we get there. But I have no hate for any of these movies. I like all 5 of these movies. The original, the second one, the remake, the requel. It's just a sequel, and then a sequel to that one. I like all 5. I think and I can say this with a straight face, I think they're all good movies. Yes, even the remake. That I've said this before. The only reason why it's shit on is because it's women. And you're not going to tell me any different. You're not. People are like, oh, but the comedy is bad. You have 4 of the best women's comedians of the modern era. No, it's not. Yes, maybe somebody. And here's the thing. People are like, oh, Ghostbusters should be more adult. There's adult jokes. If it was a dick joke, y'all would have laughed your ass off. But it's a queef joke. Right? If it was a regular fart joke or a dick joke, y'all would laugh your ass off. But because it's a queef joke, that's not funny. What if it was a fart? That's funny. So farts are funny, but queefs are not? They're literally the same thing from different ends. You get what I'm saying? Right? I'm just saying, y'all are sexist because because there be jokes in there, and that's one of them where it's like it's funny if a man did it, and that's what you're saying. But before I get into the movie, I want to take a look. People hate on these movies, but I wanted to look at reception. So here's what I had. So, okay, I need a budget in it. Okay, so I could see it because the camera's in the way. All right, first film had a budget of $30 million, and it made worldwide. This is worldwide, $296,640,120 dollar bills. First one. Second one, everyone crapped on it. Budget was $37 million. Worldwide, box office of $215,394,738 dollar bills. And then the female one came out, and everyone crapped on the budget, $144 million. It made $229,147,509. It's not a profit, but it's still a profit. Somewhat. Worldwide gross. This is not just North America. I'm going worldwide here, because that's what counts as the total worldwide. People think only the opening weekend in America counts. No, that's why China is such a big deal. Ghostbusters Afterlife, $75 million. We went back down there. Worldwide gross of $204,445,747. And for all those who didn't like it, they made a sequel because it did so good. And people didn't like Afterlife. Budget was $101 million. Was $100 million. Excuse me. I looked at it wrong. Worldwide gross of $201,967,521. Boom. The total budget of all the films, $386 million. Total gross of all 5 films, $1,147,595,635. That's all 5 films together made over $1 billion. Over $1 billion, 1 million. That's what I'm saying. Yes. Yes, that's 5 films that made over $1 billion, but still, it's a lot of money. My point is, a lot of money has been made in this franchise alone. And for all you guys who shit on it and say nothing was good after the second one, you still went to see it now, didn't you? So let's finally, after about 9 minutes, talk about Ghostbusters. Coming out in 1984. Why did it go there and not just go to the... Huh? Why did it go... Huh? Top. Alright. So, Ghostbusters coming out in 1984. Written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. Starring Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis. It only says them at the beginning. Also, Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis, Annie Potts, Ernie Hudson, William Atherton. The original cast, though, was going to include John Belushi and Eddie Murphy. John Belushi sadly passed away, but they did sort of mold Slimer, who didn't have a name in this one, to look like John Belushi a little bit. And Eddie Murphy passed. 1984, he did Beverly Hills Cop, so I think he did pretty good for himself. Yeah. John Candy was also approached to be in the film, but declined. I think he was supposed to be see the Ghostbusters starring himself and John Belushi. What's up? Production. The script intended to star alongside Eddie Murphy and his close fellow friend SNL Miss John Belushi. Oh yeah, I didn't say anything about John Candy, but I thought he was part of it. Oh, I guess we're getting into casting, I guess, but like the original, they were gonna call it Ghost. They could Ghostbusters was limited, legally restricted by a 1970s children's show, The Ghostbusters, owned by Universal Studios. So they came up with other titles, including Ghost Stoppers, Ghost Breakers, and Ghost Smashers. But none of it sounded. But the guy in charge with Columbia Pictures, Mr. Price. I can't see a name here. Sold them, became head of Universal Pictures and sold them the name for $500,000 plus 1% of the film's profits. And, yeah. So that's how they got the name. And then when I went to do the cartoon, they created the people behind the 70s cartoon Filmation created their own cartoon, so that's why the actual Ghostbusters cartoon is called The Real Ghostbusters. Here is casting. So Michael Keaton, Chevy Chase, Tom Hanks, Robin Williams, Steve Guttenberg, and Richard Pryor were also considered for the role of Peter Venkman. Guttenberg would have been something. I think Guttenberg's too much of a nice guy. I know he was kind of a scoundrel or kind of one of those kind of guys in like his character Mahoney in Police Academy is kind of like that, but he's a bit nicer than Venkman. They're also Christopher Walken, John Lithgow, Christopher Lloyd, and Jeff Goldblum, and Michael Keaton were also considered to play Egon. Ramis was inspired by the cover of a journal on abstract architecture for Egon's appearance. Hudson auditioned 5 times for the role of Winston Zeddemore. According to him, an earlier version of the script gave Winston a larger role as an Air Force demolitions expert with an elaborate backstory. Excited about the part, he agreed for the job for half his usual salary. The night before shooting began, he received a new script with a greatly reduced role. Reitman told him the studio wanted to expand Murray's part. Night writer Winston said Winston was the role intended for Eddie Murphy, although Reitman denied this. Gregory Hines and Reginald Vell Johnson were also considered for the part. Vell Johnson is actually in the film playing, can you guess, a cop. No! Daryl Hannah, Denise Crosby, Julia Roberts, and Kelly LeBrock auditioned for the role of Dana Barrett. Sigourney Weaver attracted the filmmakers' attention. They were resistant to casting her because, taking general serious role, she had played an alien in A Year of Living Dangerously. I've never seen that one. She revealed her comedic background And I want to point, she's in a sketch. She doesn't do much in the sketch, but a sketch on Saturday Night Live with her, Phil Hartman, and Dana Carvey, where Dana Carvey plays this musician named Dennis. And it's part of Carvey's bit that he does on stage, where it's a musician that makes up lyrics on the spot. And so he does that in a sketch. And you get that. My lady, she lives downtown. No. There's a lady I know. If I didn't know her, she'd be the lady I didn't know. My lady, she worked downtown. She lives downtown. Whatever. She bought some broccoli. I think it's went downtown. She took it home. Now she chopping broccoli. Chopping broccoli. She's chopping broccoli. She's chopping broccoli. Chopping broccoli. She having broccoli. One of the best parts is that Sigourney Weaver has to play it serious. So she's just like, and then Phil Hartman's just like, you know, this is the best thing he's ever heard. Great sketch. And then he does another one where it's like, I got another song. It's called New Beginning. New Beginning. New Beginning. New Beginning. New Beginning. And you see where we go from that. I love that sketch. It's like, yes, she has comedic. It was a session for Dana to become possessed by Zool. And Redman said problems with the last act by giving the characters personal stakes in events. We were also changed Dana's occupation from a model to a musician. I don't know, no offense to Sigourney Weaver, but I don't know if model would have worked. John Candy was offered the role of Louis Tully. Here we go. He told Ryman he did not understand the character and suggested portraying Tully with a German accent and multiple German shepherds. But the filmmakers felt there were already enough dogs in the film. Candy chose not to pursue the role. Reitman had previously worked with Rick Moranis and sent him the script. He accepted the role an hour later. Moranis developed many aspects of the character, including making him an accountant, and ad-libbed the lengthy speech at Tully's party. Sandra Bernhard turned down the role of Ghostbusters secretary Janine Melnitz, which went to Annie Potts. When she arrived for her first day of filming, Reitman rushed Potts into the current scene. She quickly changed out of her street clothes and borrowed a pair of glasses worn by a set dresser, which her character subsequently wore throughout the film. William Atherton was chosen to play the role of Walter Peck after he appeared in the Broadway play Broadway. Peck was described akin to Margaret Dumont's role in the comedic foil to the Marx Brothers. Atherton said, "It can't be funny. I don't find the Ghostbusters the least bit charming. I have to be outraged." His role is unintentionally funny, I guess. Added stuff. The role of the Sumerian god Gozer the Gozerian, envisioned as a business suit architect, was originally intended for Paul Rubens. He passed on the idea. Yugoslavian actress Slavica Jovan was cast, and the character changed to one inspired by androgynous looks of Grace Jones and David Bowie. Patty Edwards was the uncredited voice of Gozer, dubbing over Jovan's strong Slavic accent. Reitman's wife Genevieve Robert and their children Jason and Catherine filmed a cameo appearance as a family fleeing Dana's building, but the scene was uncut. The scene was cut because Jason was too scared by the setup to perform a second take. Though he did appear in the second film and directed the new one, the first one. There's your casting information there, yes. 20 minutes in, let's finally talk about this movie. This is a long one, folks. Revisiteds usually are. So, we start out in a library. And one of the most famous opening scenes to a movie ever. You hear the music. Boing! The sound, everything. A librarian comes into view. Now, I will point out that Are You Afraid of the Dark? I think of The Tale of the Quiet Librarian as a ripoff to this ghost from Ghostbusters. Though that goes an incredibly dark way. You know. Here, the lady gets scared by the ghost You don't necessarily see the ghost. She gets scared by it, and then you get the something strange in your neighborhood. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. Yeah, you get that opening credits, and then we meet Dr. Peter Venkman at Columbia University, where he is hitting on one of his female students and torturing the other one. There's no other way to put it. He's playing this game with the cards, where you have to guess what it is. At one point, the dude that he's electrocuting actually guesses one right, because he's still trying to hit on this chick, who's played by Jennifer Runyon, by the way, from Charles in Charge, first season. He's like, nope, shocks him. Guy has enough and says, the punchline to this whole thing is that you can keep your $5. I will. This whole thing is just for $5. Peter's cheap, you know. But just as you think Peter might be getting somewhere with this woman, Ray comes in to tell Peter about the ghost of the library. So Peter is the skeptic of the group, and I always thought, you know, that was Winston, but Winston's not necessarily a skeptic. He's an everyman. I'll just do whatever. I'll go along with it. Whatever. He doesn't necessarily believe, but he also doesn't not believe. He just sort of goes with it. You know, like when Winston starts. I guess we're getting a little ahead of this, but so yeah, they go to the public library, and they don't have anything. They weren't prepared. They just go there to check things out. You're gonna have some sort of thing that he's listening to, and Peter drops the book. Egon should have major hearing problems, but whatever. As the nostalgia critic put it, deaf. Just it's a stethoscope essentially is what he's doing, and Peter just drops the book on there. You know, it's like you ever have it. And you're kind of messing around playing doctor, and your buddy comes on and just goes, "Arr!" Or your brother or something comes along, just yells into it, and he goes, "T-t-t!" Right? Because my grandpa had a stethoscope and stuff, so I used to play that. My brother did that. I was doing that, and it still me here was hanging down, and I was messing with other stuff, and he grabbed it, and he went, "Arr!" I went, Jesus. My grandma, yeah, don't do that. I already have a hearing problem. Huh? I said, I already have it here. Wait a minute. No. Yeah. And then they get fired. Now, you're not going to like this, but I like the way it was handled in the remake better. Because I thought of this. They had just discovered proof of ghosts. They go back, and then the guy shows up and says they're fired. But in the remake, it's after they presented to Higgins from Tonight Show what they found. He's like, no, if I knew that's what you're doing, I wouldn't have kept you on here. You're out. You kicked out. Here, he just shows up and kicks him out because they gotta get kicked out. Ray has to put his parents' house, the house he was raised in, on the line so they can afford this business. A firehouse. You gotta try this pool. That's what she said. But, yeah. Then we cut to Dana Barrett, who is walking back to her apartment with groceries. We meet her neighbor, Louis Tully. I already told you who the actors are. And he's one of, like it says, and I read earlier, he added a lot of stuff. Well, your TV was on very loud, and so I just turned mine up. I tried to go to climb over and kind of get in the window, but the window was locked. So I turned mine up really loud. So I'm like, okay, I don't know how that. Okay. So she goes in. This is generally creepy because I watched this scene today. I'm watching the movie today, but I'm watching this scene. And if you really pay attention to what it is, she's putting her groceries away, she's going through stuff. She sets the eggs on the counter. And I always thought that the Goosebumps book was Egg Monsters from Mars or something like that. I never made a TV episode on that. I thought that that was kind of parodying this a little bit, like R.L. Stine took that from this. Egg Monsters from Mars. I don't know. I want to look it up. Hold on. Come on. I'm just going to type Egg Monsters. There we go. Egg Monsters from Mars. Goosebumps. Egg Monsters from Mars is the number 42 in the original series. I don't remember. And I know I read it, but I don't remember what the... about a boy named Dana who finds a strange vein egg that hatches into a terrifying alien creature, leading to a sci-fi horror story involving extraterrestrial monsters arriving in his town. The book is known for its weirdness, suspense, and disturbing ending, focusing on science fiction and horror elements as Dana and his family deal with the Martian invaders. Huh. Eggs that come alive by themselves. Main character's name is Dana, although that's not a boy's name. But, yeah. Methinks R.L. Stine ripped off Ghostbusters. Just saying. I did not even realize the main character's name was Dana. That was a surprise to me. So yeah. So what always got me is they get their proton packs, they get everything set up, and then they're like, okay, we need a case. We're not getting any cases. But I always sat there thinking, why don't you go back to the library? Because like they set up this whole thing, right? We need calls. We prove the ghosts are real. We need calls. Why not go back to the library where you know a ghost is? Right? And if you're thinking, well, they didn't call them to go there. Yes, they did. Because Peter or Ray somehow got a call, found out about the ghost there. He was called by someone. So they go back, now established that, hey, we're here to take care of this for you, but you got to pay us after we do it. Because, that's what we do now. But they don't. They don't go back to it until the game. Do they revisit one of the movies? Is it Frozen Empire they do that, don't they? I don't know. And here's the thing about the second one where they're like, no, wait till we get to the second one. So instead their first monster is Slimer, or first ghost is Slimer at the Cedric Hotel in New York City. Yes, and this is where they found that they're basically have unlicensed nuclear accelerators on their backs. Yeesh. And Egon warns them not to cross the streams. Yet, they always get dangerously close to doing that. Like, two of them actually use the streams together on Slimer. If Slimer moved out of the way, they would have crossed. But luckily, they got him. They're able to capture Slimer and the what is his name? Maitre D or whatever, manager, refuses to pay, and I like how Peter's like, you know what? You just put that right back. Well, we absolutely can. He's like, no. I was okay, I'll do it. And then we get one of my favorite lines. We came, we saw, we kicked its ass. Then we get the montage of saving her when we're ready to believe you. You also get the commercial, like I mentioned that, but Egon looking at his mark as he steps on the thing. Also, mug and balloons for the kids. That's in this one too. That's where Dana sees the commercial. So now she goes to check it out. They also hire Winston. Like I said, is not a skeptic, but he's just a guy like, you know what? If I'm getting paid, I'll believe whatever you tell me. Ghosts, ghouls, goblins, pay me, and I'll believe whatever. And it's one of those things where seeing is believing. So he starts off as, I'm just doing it for money, but then once you get to it, once he sees that it's real, maybe it's different. But yeah. So Dana shows up and goes to talk to the Ghostbusters, tells them about what it is. Venkman, thinking with his little friend, sees this as an opportunity to get laid. So he volunteers to go back with Dan to her apartment and check things out. I forgot the rest of the scene because I was talking about the eggs. The eggs start to pop out of the cartridge. That's not it. Carton. The carton. And cook themselves on the counter. I don't know. I never put two and two together. I always thought, oh, it's on the stove or something. No, that's just the counter. So it's cooking like that, and then she hears a noise, and she opens the fridge, and she sees that Sumerian pocket universe or whatever it is, and then so yeah, she's freaked out, and she's talking to these people. But of course, it's one of those things where as soon as you tell someone, they come and look, nothing. There's nothing. Once you get someone to look, there's nothing. And Peter's just hitting on her the whole time in this scene, right? I like how he hits on her. She rebuffs him, and he's like, and then she turned me away. He just keeps like narrating what's going on, and she's just like, right? Like, she realizes he only did this to try to get a date, and he's seeing ghosts for himself, but he's still sort of the skeptic, where it's like, if he can get ahead in it, he's I don't know. Because he has that whole scene with Janine where he's like, I think it's after this, where he's like, stop staring me with those bug eyes. Hey, Janine, sorry about the bug eyes thing. Like, right away, he just apologizes to her. And we meet Walter Peck. Walter Peck from the Environmental Protection Agency. So, first of all, I would like to know what business it is of his to even walk in there. As they say, it's private property. I know he's technically a government official or whatever, but for he just to walk in, like, Venkman is technically right here, where he's like, he comes in and just wants to look at their equipment. And it's not like, because you think, oh, he's Environmental Protection Agency, must think everything's working right, everything is copacetic, but it's not even that, because as he goes on his rant later, he doesn't even believe in all this stuff. He's telling the mayor that they're pumping New York with like some kind of hallucinogen for people to see ghosts. So what is the point of him doing this? Like, people quick to point out that Peck is right. Yes, he's absolutely right. Their containment unit is unsafe. However, he's not doing this to prove that this is unsafe. He's not doing this as his job. He's got some kind of personalized vendetta for some reason to put these guys out of business. Not to prove that this is dangerous, to prove that they're frauds, which is not even in his job description. He's from the Environmental Protection Agency. I guess if they're pumping gas out there, maybe it's bad for the environment, but I don't know. And even though he's been warned that, like, the containment unit is being, they're warned that it's nearing capacity, supernatural energy is surging across the city, But we don't have time for that. Peter goes to meet Dana, and he does that thing that I've always tried to do. How does he do it? Thing he does, and you got this guy who's snorting the nasal spray in his nose, and like we never really know who the father of Dana's baby is. Is it this guy? Did she like dump Peter for this guy? I hurt my leg doing that thing. But he asked her out, and she said yes. So, yeah. Well, then, Peter tells Dana that Zool was a demigod worshipped as a servant to Gozer the Gozerian, shapeshifting god of destruction. Upon returning home, well, that's later. Yeah. So Dana goes home to get ready for her date with Peter. She has another conversation with Lewis where he's having this party where for some reason he decides he only invites clients instead of friends. And he justifies it by saying, well, clients, friends are to personal, clients, better. I think it's because he doesn't have any friends. So he invites clients because those are his only friends. Kind of sad. But then he's like, oh, you have a date? She's like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. He's like, you can bring him by. Like, she doesn't want to go to your stupid party. But Dana is on the phone with her mother, talking about the date. And this is when, after she hangs up, Zool lights up from the kitchen, drags her in, cops a feel. He does. He's like, he cops a feel. And you cannot tell me that was planned that way. No, that is the special effects guy just copping a feel to go into Weaver. He's like, I saw Alien. I seen your underwear. Come on. Yeah, she's possessed by Zool. There's no Dana, only Zool now. And then this shit hits the fan. Everything is... Yeah. Peter goes to pick up Dana and finds her possessed by Zool. We also see that Tully's at his party with another dog. I always like this. So here's the situation. So I grew up with this movie, obviously. Both of them. I said before that Vigo was the thing that scared me the most when I was a kid. But as a young adult, watching this on AMC, and I was still living at my mom's house. I was a young adult before I moved out. I moved here at 21. So I was like 19, 20. And this was on AMC. And it's the scene with the dogs. When it breaks out of the closet, chases Tully down the hallway. It doesn't look very good in HD, but this was... HD hadn't really started yet. But it's when he gets to the restaurant. He's pounding on the wall, the window. And the thing, he just turns around. And he knows he's like... and he sinks. And it gets him. That got me. It's like... Oh. That got a little chill for me. I was like, oh. And watching it this time, like, yeah, that is a really well done scene. This is a comedy. But that's a genuine moment. A genuine scary moment. In this otherwise comedic film. That works. And then this dog that attacked a man possesses him and acts like a complete doofus. And you could say, well, that's because of who he possessed, but I don't know. Because Dana, at one point, she's a sweet woman, and I was, there is no Dana on this world. I like how Peter states that he gives her enough tranquilizers to knock out a horse. Should kill her, but so he leaves her there and decides to go back to the house, the firehouse. So I didn't think it is some nostalgia could have brought this up. The dogs possessed Dana and Tully because they lived across the hallway from each other. So it's easy for them to get together due to Bang Boom and Summon and Gozer, I guess. But the irony of they did that and they had to Tully ran off, so they have to find their way to each other, which how far did Tully run? Like, he runs to the city to this restaurant. Can't be that far from the apartment. Instead, he's found by someone who takes them to the Ghostbusters. Coffee, Mr. Tully? Yes, have some. Yes, have some. But wouldn't you know it, and everything is... Peck shows up at the most inappropriate of times. And he... So, I have admitted that Peck is right. But he's also wrong. Because he's trying to prove that this is dangerous, but also trying to prove that they're frauds. So his big idea is to go to this thing that he believes is dangerous and shut it off. Even though he's warned that by doing that, it's like dropping a bomb on the city. He still says, turn it off. Even though the other people don't want to do it, they still do it. And wouldn't you know it, everything goes down the toilet. Yeah. I think Peter arrives and the other two aren't there yet. Just Peter and Egon. Because the other two are in the car talking about the Bible and stuff. You know, in the end days. I do like how Winston's like, Ray, did it ever make you think that with all the ghosts thrown up that this is the end of times? They sort of looked at each other, you know? Yeah. Well, this is the next day, I guess. This makes sense because, yeah, it's the next morning. So, yeah. During all this, Tully, I'm just going to call him Tully. Tully escapes and makes his way back to the apartment building to bang boom with Dana, Zool, whatever. And we find out that Ivo Shandor, the leader of the Ghost worshipping cult in the early 20th century, designed Dana's building. Well, that's when they get arrested. That's where they get arrested. So they get there, and Peck returns, and Peck has them arrested. And then has the audacity to say that all this, what's going on, is their fault. That the electric surge, everything is their fault. This is where he is wrong. Because they warned Peck. They told him what would happen if he shut it off, and he ignored them. Then he has the audacity to have them arrested, thrown in jail for something he did, and he should be thrown in jail. Yes, their operation was completely unsafe. And he proved that. But by proving that, he also endangered everyone in New York City. He did. It's his fault. And so, like, I do like how they're arrested, but they're somehow have schematics and stuff, and they talk about Dana's building and how Ivo Shandor built it to be some sort of interdimensional ghost. Track and concentrate spiritual energy and summon Gozer and bring about the apocalypse. The mayor then summons give me the Ghostbusters. So they're there and they convince him. Real Wrath of God type stuff. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. But what really convinces him is if we're right, if we do this, Lenny, you would have saved the lives of millions of registered voters. Well, politics. Sure, there you go. Peck is fired, kicked out, and the Ghostbusters are like, bye. And he's like, we was working fine until Dickless here. But is this true? Yes, Your Honor. This man has no dick. Where's this Pecker? And with Pecker here, my name is Peck. My name is Peck. I do feel bad for William Atherton because after this role, everyone kept calling him Dickless. Which is why he didn't come back for the next one, so they just had Diet Peck. Like Peck. So, now it's time to Saving the Day. Saving the Day. I'm not talking about the soundtrack. You got the Ghostbusters theme song. You got Saving the Day. And I have the soundtrack back there. The one song that they only have a snippet of in this soundtrack. I believe in magic. it's a completely different song than what you hear in there. There's so much more to that song than just that part, but they only play that part in the movie because they feel like that's the freaky part, which it is. You know what happens here? I do like how they rush to save the day and then they have to go up all the stairs. It's kind of funny. But my thought is, there's still power in the building, right? There's no elevator, right? There's got to be an elevator. They thought it was funnier to climb the stairs, I guess. I do like Peter's line of, let me know when we get to 20. I'm going to puke. I'm going to throw up. That's how I'm going to throw up. They get all the way to the top. And, yeah. It's now a temple on top of the building. Legends of the Hidden Temple. No. They have bang boomed and they've opened up the dimensional gate, and there are now demonic dogs again. So, something that's always confused me. They were demonic dogs that attacked those two, took over their bodies, and turned them back into demonic dogs. And then we find out that they're inside the demonic dogs. So were they ghost demonic dogs before? Now they're corporeal? Is that what we're trying to say here? I guess. I don't know. Gozer, who appears as a woman, I do bring it up too. I thought Gozer's supposed to be a man. He can be whatever he wants. Yeah. Which does make sense when Gozer comes back in a new one and looks similar, but still different. People are like, oh, it's the same actress. It doesn't have to be. Because Gozer could be whatever it wants to be. Gozer can look like a similar woman, but not the same woman. He just likes the flat top, but it's Olivia Wilde and not the Slavic woman. We get another iconic moment where she asks, well, first of all, we get a callback to the beginning. Go get her, Ray! Which is a callback to the get her! And we get an iconic moment of, are you a god? No? Then die. And Winston's iconic line of, Ray, next time someone asks if you're a god, you say yes. Which is called back to in Afterlife. Of course. Yeah. So they try to blast her and she disappears. And then we hear a voice say to choose the form of the destructor. Or the destructor. I said it right. And so, like, oh, I get it. And this shit, okay. So he's like, we think of J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover's going to come and destroy us. So why, because Peter said that, why you think everyone would immediately have thought of J. Edgar Hoover? J. Edgar Hoover would show up. But no. He said, clear your mind. And so Ray, instead of clearing his mind, thinks of something that could be the most, safe to choose, I guess. Picks the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Which I guess is a real brand. I always have I don't know what it's called, but it's not Stay Puft. But and it begins destroying the city. So they decide the only way to stop it is to cross the streams. Total platonic reversal. So they do it, which explodes the Marshmallow Man, causing Marshmallow to go everywhere except for on Peter, because we needed him to have a reunion scene with Dana, so he can't be covered in that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. It banishes Gozer back to the dimension, it closes the gateway, blah, 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 blah. And I've always liked this line too. It smells like burnt dog. Oh. Venkman. I'm sorry. Just how he says it, he's Canadian. I'm sorry. Just how he says it. But no, Dana is alive, and so is Tully. And I like how Dana, he's happy about Dana, and he's like, hey, somebody help us get the thing, and go help the little guy. I like that line. But yeah, And then we get my favorite line from Winston. I love this town! It's something strange in your neighborhood. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. I've always thought that these movies just ending right after everything is done is kind of like we don't get a wrap-up scene about how their business is going to go slick now or something. No, it's just we do it in the 2016 one, I guess, but no, it's just we save the world, we save the day. No, that's it. We're just done. But yeah, this was a long. I promise Ghostbusters 2 review is not going to be this long. I hope. I like reading the production stuff. Okay? And yeah, that's Ghostbusters. We end it. Do I have to say it? Do I really have to say it? Armpit. No. To the moon. It goes to the moon. All day. All day. Yes. Yes. Ghostbusters is a classic film, and I will not hear any slander about it. Or this franchise. I love this franchise. Yes, that's it. All the movies, all the shows. Not the Filmation one, though, because one, I haven't seen it. 2, it doesn't count. Real Ghostbusters. The Extreme Ghostbusters. Even when they did the Slimer shit, that's fine, you know? It's what it is, you know? So, what are your thoughts on Ghostbusters? Let me comment below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Scott, and I'll see you in the next one.